You know, if you wanted me over for nettle tea, you should have just sent an invitation. I know most people are really scared of you, but this smells good.
And unfortunately, most of the time it's true. Fewer things can evoke more terror in the mind of hiker and sightseer alike than the thought of coming upon a gigantic patch of nettles. They hide in the shadows, they can grow upwards of 7 feet tall, and when they touch you, they can leave a pretty annoying sting that'll tag along for 10 to 30 minutes. But you know what? I'm here today to tell you that you shouldn't be afraid of nettles. Rather, you should embrace this passive-aggressive plant for what it is and reap the benefits. And you know what? If you don't know anything about nettles yet, let's start you off on the right track. Now, aside from touching the nettle on the very top of the leaf, you're going to get that infamous sting if you touch it anywhere else. Because everywhere else is covered with these tiny little hair-like needles, and that stinging sensation you get is actually caused by multiple needles piercing you and injecting you with serotonin, acetylcholine, and histamines, rather than what more accurately feels like you being stabbed by thousands of needles all at once. Now, even if the tops of the nettles are safe to touch, everywhere else isn't, so if you're going to go picking nettles, it always pays to bring your gloves. Oh, and by the way, if you're going to pick nettles, pick them at the base of the stem and don't uproot the whole thing. This way they can grow back a little more. Now, the thing about nettles and that infamous sting of theirs is that it's actually both a good and a bad thing. Bad for the obvious reason that it's very unpleasant to get hit by, but good because with that unpleasantness comes a lot of health benefits. You see, that redness and stinging sensation is actually blood being drawn into the upper layer of skin, which acts as a natural anti-inflammatory treatment and is a great treatment for things like arthritis. Still, in order to get that full benefit, you're going to have to flog yourself with a lot of nettles. And if that draconian treatment doesn't sound like the funnest of things to do, there is another way to get the health benefit of nettles and not have to inflict so much pain on yourself. First, you need to wash them off and get rid of any dirt and dust. Second, you need to cut off all the little old prawns and get ready to steam them. That's right, we're going to steam these nettles because we are going to eat them. And by eating them, we can get some of and then some of the topical effects of nettles for our health. Just before you go steaming them, make sure you space them out appropriately, because if you overcrowd them, you're not going to get rid of all those little stingy points. And let me tell you something, if you think nettles are unpleasant getting stung in the arm, wait until you get stung by them in the mouth. One of the ways you can know if your nettles are done is to simply take one out, put it on your plate, and give it a cut. And if you can cut through the stem, then you know it's done. And that looks like we're about done. So just scoop on them up, plate them out. Delicious like spinach and nutritious with vitamins A, C, and D, and rich with the minerals of iron, potassium, calcium, and manganese. Just serve them up like you would on the side like any other green, or do it my favorite way. Serve it straight up with a side of vinegar, butter, garlic, oil, or my personal favorite, just top it off with a nice blob of spicy mustard. That's good. Still, there is one more way for you to get your nettle fix if they aren't freely available to you, or if eating them still doesn't sound much better than beating yourself with them. Freeze drying. Freeze drying being a very modern day, very effective way of preserving fruits, herbs, and vegetables, yet still maintaining that nutritional value and keeping its integrity intact. For example,
the goal of freeze drying is to remove water without destroying nutrients and enzymes, thus preserving a plant as close to fresh as possible. Let's say this egg represents the cellular structure of what we want to freeze dry, with the shell being the cell membrane, the white being the water, and the yolk being the nutrients and enzymes. We can juice it. In juicing, we separate the fiber from the juice. And obviously, we kind of fail to keep things intact. We've lost the fiber, and this is going to go bad really fast. There's cooking, but as you can see, the obvious problem is that we cooked the enzymes in the process, And while it will last much longer than our fresh juice, we get a lot less health benefit from it. Freezing works, but you've got to keep it really cold. And once it's out of the cold, it's going to go south fast. Now imagine if we froze the egg and then removed the whites as a solid. We'd be left with the yolk perfectly preserved, having never mixed with the white. We'd get something like this. And that is kind of how freeze drying works.
Well, if being a refreshing tea, anti-inflammatory, anti-allergy, good for the kidneys, if that's not enough, there's always textiles.
Well, I hope today we've helped to dispel the myth of nettles being nothing more than this green menace just waiting around the corner to ruin your day. Because honestly, if there's any herb that deserves a second chance in your heart, it's the stinging nettle. Because remember, he's not your enemy anymore, he's your friend. See you next time.